Welcome to Dead by Daylight, a binding of kin. Family is woven by sacred and powerful bonds, but in the entity's realm, even kinship is perilous. The new killers are the twins. A pair of conjoined twins from 17th century France, Charlotte and Victor Deaille, formed an emotional bond like none other. After a life of hardship and suffering, the entity has twisted their love for one another into something truly terrifying. The twins' power is blood bond. Divide and devastate. Though forever bound by blood and trauma, the twins have been granted the power to separate from their shared body. Together, Charlotte and Victor hunt as brother and sister, doubling the threat to survivors. Use blood bond to separate the twins. Choose to control either Charlotte or Victor, and hunt your victims as a deadly duo. While you're controlling Charlotte, Victor monitors the trial, triggering killer instinct to reveal the location of survivors who are near him. However, Victor can be crushed by survivors while Charlotte is being controlled. If crushed, Victor will eventually regenerate onto Charlotte. Special attack, pounce. While controlling Victor, you can pounce onto survivors. Successfully landing a pounce deals damage to the survivor. If the survivor is at full health, Victor will latch onto them, afflicting the broken, oblivious, and the new incapacitated status effects. Victor will also reveal the locations of other nearby survivors with killer instinct. Survivors can attempt to fight Victor off while he's latched onto them. If Victor misses his pounce, he is momentarily vulnerable and can be crushed by survivors. The twins come with 3 new perks. As a scavenger, protect your stockpile at any cost with Hoarder. Whenever survivors interact with a chest or pick up an item within range of your location, you will be alerted to their presence. If there are enough spawn points available, spawn 2 extra chests. Hoarder reduces the rarity of items found in chests. Give them a taste of what you've endured with Oppression. When you damage a generator, other random generators are also damaged. If any of those generators are being repaired, any survivors repairing them must face a difficult skill check. Their progress only makes you stronger. Close the distance with coup de grace. Whenever a generator is completed, you gain a token. Consume 1 token to increase the distance of your next lunge attack. New survivor, Elodie Rakoto. Cunning, smart, and resolute, Elodie Rakoto spent her life trying to uncover the mystery of her parents' disappearance. Grief-stricken and guilt-ridden, Elodie turned to the occult to find the answers she was looking for. Elodie comes with 3 new perks. Keep a sharp eye out for resources with Appraisal. Start the trial with 3 tokens. If a chest has already been opened, you can consume a token to search it and retrieve an item. You can search chests much faster. Conceal your true intentions with Deception. While sprinting, rather than entering a locker, you will instead pretend to enter it. You leave no scratch marks for the next 3 seconds. Resolved and tenacious. Fight until your last breath with Power Struggle. If you fight hard enough against the killer's grasp while being carried, you can drop a pallet to stun them and free yourself. Hunt as a deadly pair with the twins, or fight to survive as the unwavering and determined Elodie Rakoto with a binding of kin in Dead by Daylight.
Hi there, and welcome to the Fruitcake Charm Instruction Guide, brought to you by Dead by Daylight. What is a fruitcake charm, you might ask? Well, I'll show you. From now until January 3rd, the entity has given you a chance to claim this exclusive holiday killer charm. Sorry, survivors. Try being good next year. Redeeming this charm is similar to how our previous holiday was, but with a few changes. Fog Whisperers and select creators will be revealing unique codes on their stream and across various content. Once the code is shown, here's what you need to do. Navigate to your store on the main menu. Top right of the next page, you'll see Redeem Code. Please take your time and enter the code exactly as displayed on your screen. The code is not case sensitive, but must include all dashes. And there are no O's, they're all zeros. Once the code has been entered completely, hit the Redeem button. And if you are fast enough, you just earned yourself a super rare killer charm. But what about consoles? Due to concerns regarding last holiday's giveaway, we will now be giving out console exclusive codes, so everyone has an equal and fair opportunity this holiday season. And remember, please refrain from pressuring a creator to give away a code. There's plenty to go around. Speaking of which, here's some right now. Well, that pretty much sums it up. My name is Spooky Loops, and just like my other Fog Whisperer friends, I'll be giving these charms away every stream. You can find me on Twitch here. Happy holidays.
Hello? Hi.
Hello.
I was not ready for this. I was trying to catch up the cat that was falling from my lap. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Q&A live stream. I am not Queen, the lead community manager on Dead by Daylight, and with me today I have two, well, two amazing person. I think you know, but do you want to introduce yourself?
Go for it, Ethan. You're on top.
Oh, I was thinking more. How does this work? There. All right. Yeah. So I'm Ethan. I do live balance design on Dead by Daylight.
Awesome.
And I'm McLean. I do gameplay programming and a little bit of live design as well.
Okay, I have a special request for you, McLean.
Yep.
Can you show us your shirt?
Sure. It's my favorite Christmas sweater. I've really been getting in the mood lately. It's it's just Santa Claus in space riding a unicorn with a laser sword. I figured it was time.
Awesome. All right, so chapter 18 is out since December 1st. So A Binding of Kin brought us the twins and Elodie. Elodie, that's how you say it. Now let's address the elephant in the room. McLean, please.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'd like to just to say that our last release did launch with a higher than normal number of issues related to the new content, and our team is hard at work fixing the problems for follow-up patches, which are coming to you as soon as possible.
Yes, and I just received a message. No, not really. But actually, if you log into the game today, you will receive a bunch of blood points to thank you for sticking up with us while we fix these issues. We know they exist, we know they are there. So thank you for still being here, still being awesome. All right, while we say that. Oh no, it's not the advent calendar stuff, guys. That's not what I'm talking about. This is an extra thing on top of it. All right. So before we go to Q&A, there's a few announcements. So it validation has been re-enabled this week and then disabled the same day because there was an issue with Oni interaction. So we're hoping to have that fixed for the next update. And when I say update, it's next bug fix patch. So very soon, and be re-enable it. So in case you don't know what it validation is, it's a system that allows the server to check if your hits hit and make sure that they're fair, and that if you have a really bad connection, your hits might be rejected by the servers. Also, we do have an advent calendar that's happening right now, so make sure you log every day to get your rewards, and there's going to be charms, sweaters, currency, and more. So you can follow us on Twitter if you want a reminder every day. By Dwelf. Y'all saw it. All right, so let's start with the Q&A, I guess. We got the questions from our forums and as well as Twitter. So we're going to start straight up with it. TDZ Luke is asking, can you show the results or stats of the Bloodlust experiment? So we don't have a fancy graph to show, but it's basically more or less the same one we show lately in the previous stream. Who's taken that one?
Well, I did find one thing when I was looking around in the numbers. The very first thing when I was looking into it, I was really curious, how did that weekend without Bloodlust compare to the weekend before? And there was like a 1 to 2% difference in kill rates. But just digging a little bit further, I actually realized that the real anomaly was the weekend I was looking at there, because Bloodlust weekend was actually very similar to other weekends in terms of kill rates. If anybody has a good fan theory as to why the weekend before the Bloodlust test weekend was like killier than average, please share. I would love to. Yeah, I would love to hear your theories.
Wasn't that the weekend of Free Weekend?
That
might be a theory.
If that's true, that would probably account for it.
All right, so we have a question from AGM on forums. Are there any steps being taken to reduce the grind?
we're aware that the grind is kind of nuts. It's not as nuts as it was when we shipped, and when our now departed economic designer let us have 2 perks per blood web, that helped a lot. But we know that there's still more work to be done. We have some ideas that we're working on, but there's nothing imminent, so I can't really discuss anything at this time. But do know that we are aware, and there are plans in the works to address it.
There were also smaller things that were done that would kind of help, as well as the whole blood web thing. There's also, if I'm not mistaken, changing the tiers, how the tiers of perks is done,
Yeah,
and making
there's been
them
like a
closer to each
shift,
other.
like a bit of a shift in the philosophy of perk tiers. Um, Typically, like when we released, there was a very large difference between the levels of the perk tiers. Like you'd see a pattern where it was like level 1 would be I don't know 2, and then the second one would be 4, and the third one would be 8. Like you'd have something like doubling over tier. Whereas now we actually try to keep things pretty close together. We would want the first rank of perks to be playable, maybe not like maximized, but playable.
All right, thank you. GFED from Forum is asking, will Decisive Strike get a rework or a change? So that's been asked a lot of times.
Yeah, it's definitely a contentious perk. I think it generates a lot of discussion. People who haven't been around since it came out might not know that this perk has already undergone quite a few iterations. I guess it's not perfect yet, so this is still something that we talk about fairly frequently. We don't have any conclusions to share about it. We would like to do something about the more abusive side of it. I think one of the things that gets people upset with Decisive Strike are players who use it as only kind of an invincibility shield to like pester killers, perhaps more than intended. And then of course the other issue is people who view this perk as only an anti-tunneling measure, and then feel that it's unfair that they'll get smacked by it by a survivor who's been doing lots of other things in the game, which should, in their mind, sort of tag it as clearly this person was not tunneled. They've done things in the game. I probably shouldn't be affected by Decisive Strike. So we're keeping all of that in mind, and we are discussing possible improvements for this perk.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Reverse Velocity from Forums is asking, are there any other killers that will be getting any changes soon?
Well, we've already talked about Clown, and that Clown is going to be getting the next update. It's soon, but we haven't announced a release date for it yet. The Huntress is getting an add-on pass. She's the last killer remaining with an incorrect number of the different rarities perks. Notably, she's only got 1 iridescent. We're going to take care of that. As usual, 2 releases after the Twins ship, there will be an adjustment like we did with the Blight. Soon afterward, in this release, there were a couple of Blight updates. I highly recommend trying the new Soul Chemical add-on. I had a lot of fun with that last night.
Soul Chemical is a lot better than it reads on paper. It
Oh,
works.
It works exactly the way it should. But we can announce who's probably getting an update next, and that is Demogorgon. It's not going to be a major update. We're pretty happy with the idea of having Shred on one hand and the portals on the other hand. It's just going to be a fine-tuning pass, and probably an add-on pass, just check over a few things. But on the whole, his gameplay is working quite well. We would just want to give him some extra power and tweak some things.
I want to say that chat is not letting me down here. I can see all the demo in the chat, and I'm very happy about this. Thank you for showing up. All right.
Should
Louis,
we tease about this other little thing that's here?
Yeah, go ahead, Louis.
This is not like a big killer rework or anything, but there are a couple of tweaks coming to the Wraith as well. I'm not even going to get too deep into it. I'll just leave the small tease of true invisibility is something that may or may not be happening, and I'll just let you guys chew on that one.
Yep. Oh my God, here it is. It's starting. All right. A purple turtle is asking, are there any plans to add more features to custom games like bots or solo play?
Custom games are cool, but really only a small portion of our players actually use them. So we don't want to spend too much time adding features to this, as most people aren't going to see this. But um, it's a tricky thing because we know they're useful in that when you want to just get on with your friends, not worry about queue times and all that kind of stuff, it's great to just get in a custom match, right? But it's still a small percentage of what people are using, so we have to be careful about what time we invest in it. But we are open to this, and there are some ideas bubbling in the background in other parts of the design team, working with ways that we could make the custom games a little better. So it's not super high on the priority list, but we're aware that you guys want something there, and so it's being what's a good word, percolated in the background. Yes.
All right. Fogbringer from the forums is asking, will killers who didn't receive a map at lunch get them after the graphical update is complete, like the twins or the blight?
Unfortunately, we don't have any plans at the moment to add new maps for previously released characters. Although I certainly understand the desire. These are some cool characters, I agree.
All right. So that twin's a little sad, but that's the answer. So answer is probably not. Quebec from the forum is asking, will there be more changes to twins besides those announced?
As usual, on the next killer release, we will do a revisit of the twins. We have to give them a couple months of play time for people to learn how they work, for survivors to adjust for their play styles, and give a little time for a couple of iterations of people and players figuring out how these things work before we can make informed decisions about how we might want to change things. So you can expect that in the next full chapter release, there will be some tweaks and updates to the twins then.
All right. Oni wants your macaroni. I'm sorry, I just can't with the names today. Will we ever see at least a fix for FPS drops? So this question was specifically mentioning FPS drops, lag spikes when status effects appear or when items are looted from a chest. So that's the question.
Yeah, so we do have a fix for the performance drop when looting a chest. I believe that one actually went out in 4.4. These are things that we're looking into. There has been on certain platforms there is a noticeable stutter when status effect icons appear for the first time. It's a known issue that we also have in our backlog. So yes, this issue and other issues like it are pretty high on our priority list for improving performance.
Yeah, and to manage expectations here, like issues that are specific to moments like this, like FPS drops when a status effect appear, that's a possible thing that we can look into, but just general FPS loss, that's very vague for a question that we can't like promise, like you're never gonna expect to have an FPS drop ever again. So yeah, we're obviously targeting some issues that we know causes that, but that's not a a blanket statement saying we're gonna fix FPS drop all the time. So just managing expectations here. All right, Ethan, the real Ants Gruber is asking, why has the meta been consistent for so long, and why have you not tried to mix it up more?
All right, so this is a fairly complex issue. So to make sure that I don't get lost in what I'm trying to say, I'm going to just read my prepared answer here. Sorry, it comes off a little more boring when I do this. Okay, so we got two things. Number one, we aren't trying to make every new perk the best. That causes power creep, and then all of the newer perks become the must-haves, and all the older ones fall into disuse. We don't really want to do that. DLCs shouldn't be a must-have if you wish to stay competitive. They should be something that you want if you want to add that variety to what you have available. We'd rather give people more options and ways to play and let them decide if they are worth switching builds for. Number two, We do change meta perks on a somewhat regular basis. Let's say Hex Ruin, the countless exhaustion changes, Metal of Man, etc. But we don't exactly want to nerf something into the ground just for the sake of shaking up the meta if the perk itself isn't causing any problems. That said, some people are going to run the same 4 perks every match because that works for them, or because they saw a guy that told them it's a really good build. It'd be great if they do decide to switch it up, but if that's the way they enjoy the game, we don't really want to tell them no either. We've got Ruin and Undying is supposedly everywhere. It's true that it's fairly common, but it's not as pervasive as just Ruin was before the update. But the Ruin change is already fairly well established, and Undying is only 3 months old. So we're at the moment investigating the synergy between those 2 perks and how common they're used together in matches, which at the moment is slowly climbing. So we may need to look at Undying at some point in the future, but it's not a high priority thing yet because it doesn't seem to be affecting a very large proportion of our games.
All right. To Ethan. Okay, so I think we have something here for the chat, actually. I just want to make sure that I don't say something. Are we good? We're good to say it? Do you have an image? Awesome. Oh, there you go. So, if you want to get this really cool and cute, awesome charm, you can log in the game and enter this code. That's... I'm sorry, I just like, oh. Yes. So, this is going to be valid until the end of the month. Just make sure you go in the game and you catch it before it goes. Okay, bye, kitty. Oh, you're gonna see kitty butt. Sorry. All right. Are you moving, or he's just staying there? I can't see the questions. All right. Nork is saying, are there plans on making the Rift easier to max out?
Yeah, so we are looking into some other methods for earning progression in the Rift, but there's nothing yet concrete enough that I can announce today. But we're on it.
So, Quoxo is asking, any update on fixing the Blight's point of view?
Yes. We have a version internally that we've been testing. It's raised his camera up a bit and pulled it back a little so he's not like seeing through things. And it's really good, but it's not 100% ready yet, and we can't really announce when it's going to be released. But it's almost there, and it will be sooner rather than later. Like, you're not going to have to wait a year for this update. It'll be sooner than that.
Okay, but if we're just moving the camera, why is it not there already, Ethan?
Because we're not just moving the camera, we are rebuilding the animations, because the camera is attached to a bone, and so the first-person animations all have to change. And that's a lot of work. And the reason that work wasn't done earlier, even though it's high priority, is because the twins had 2 characters to animate, so the animation team has been slammed unbelievably for the last couple of months. So yeah, we're getting that out as soon as we can. It's unbottlenecked now that the twins are out. There are still a few animation issues for them to clean up on the twins, so that's why we can't really say exactly when the Blight will be finished, but it's coming.
Yeah, if all you did was raise the camera, you wouldn't be able to see your hands anymore.
Yep.
Which you probably wouldn't want that.
Yeah, it's kind of practical as killer player to see where you're hitting. Okay, so Master Grit is asking, will map RNG be improved, specifically about dead zones?
All right, well, I do have an answer here courtesy of our level design guru, which is that we are going to be implementing a formula similar to what happened with the Springwood level design rework. Essentially, what's going on here is that using the old systems, the number of pallets on a map is mostly determined by which tiles spawn. So essentially the logic is on like a per tile basis, mostly. And our newer system has more consistency across the entire map. which should hopefully help eliminate dead zones. And just to be clear, this is not part of the graphical update. There's a bit of a separation between gameplay updates to the maps and the visual updates to the maps. And I know that they sometimes come together and they sometimes don't, so it can be a little bit confusing. So this thing for dead zones is not going to be necessarily attached to a visual update to any particular map.
While we're talking about, graphical update and just update to old stuff, San Pavo is asking if the licensed characters will be part of the character model updates as well.
Yep, they will be getting the same treatment as other characters. With them being licensed, we do have to go to the IP owners and check any updates with them to be sure, but we are updating those as well.
I can't see the question. Around a bit, thank you. All right, Miss Herrick is asking, when can we expect Victor's animation for lockers?
Yeah, this one is coming in an upcoming patch. I do not have an exact date, unfortunately, but it is coming.
And this is also tied to the fact that there was a lot more animation on this release. So, yeah, that explains it, but it is coming. Passerino T, when can we expect the new maps again?
Soon.
Soon what?
Soon trademark.
Thank you, Ethan. All right. Joey66 is asking if we're gonna ever get a stats tracker for players.
That's a great question, and it's something that we would really love to have. Technically, there are all kinds of stats that are being tracked. The issue is creating the right way to view these stats, sort these stats. It would require a lot of behind-the-scenes work to get it to an acceptable standard. So at the moment, this is considered sort of a nice-to-have task rather than a priority, which means it's probably not in the cards for now. Although I personally, I think many other people on the team would love to see something like that.
Yeah. All right. Which is another question about, which next. I'm gonna restart that. Joe by Daylight's asking, what map or realm will we rework next? So I don't know if you saw, but on social media we've been showing up some work in progress and also some teasers about the upcoming maps. So keep an eye on social media because we're not ready to announce that today. That's all I have to say on that one. All right, Dabby Wow is asking, can we get a teaser for the changes coming to the clown? So the answer is
yes.
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 All right. So
Cool.
just to make sure that it is understood, this was a what? This was a work in progress and can change. But we're gonna let you guys speculate on what that means because basically, we want to see what you think about that. So that's just a tease, actually, of what's coming. Oh yeah, there it is. You guys are not disappointing in chat today.
Good old chat.
Yep. All right, Freddy96 is asking if we will rework all the offerings. So, Ethan?
No, we're not going to rework all of them, but we will see which offerings people are using the most. Well, we know that blood point offerings are the most common, but we'll look at ones that don't get used that often, and we'll be revisiting the offerings as a set in the future. We know that some of them are underwhelming, and some of the costs are strange, like 3,000 BP to get a 25% bonus to something that can give you at most a couple thousand. It's a little weird. We're aware that that's all kind of strange, and the offering system is going to get a look, but we're not going to rework all of them. Just to be clear.
Noob Dog is asking any plans for a solo queue buff, because I know that this is something we talked about like a while ago, and trying to make sure that the solo survivors would get like a fun time as well. So
Yeah, so what we're not interested at the moment is different game rules for people playing in groups versus people playing solo. So we're talking about more subtle things. One knob that can be used for this is matchmaking, but more specifically, we've had a sort of a design philosophy that anything we can do to reduce the gap, especially in information between groups and solo players, is something that we would like to follow. For example, the way that the Demogorgon shows the aura of the portal that they're working on to other survivors to sort of like invite them to help. That kind of thing is something we try to keep in mind as we design for the game, to try to slightly reduce the gap between group players and solo players.
all right. Snake Sound 222. Will our trophies eventually transfer from PS4 to PS5?
I can take that one. Due to a technical limitation, that doesn't work yet. Now, I can't rule it out. We can't say it will never happen, but at the moment, it's a technical limitation, and we're not able to.
Yeah, and that was also included in the FAQ for the release of PS5.
But at least you get to do Skilled Huntress twice. What a bonus!
Yay!
How can you say something so controversial?
I'm not gonna answer that one.
So brave.
Yeah, I still don't have that freaking nurse one with the 3 blinks and interrupt. I decided that I would just I accepted my fate.
That's one of my 3 that I don't have. Is that one, Skilled Huntress, and I don't remember the other one.
All right, so a can of air. Do you have any plans for advanced tutorial for Survivor and Killers?
In fact, we are currently talking about the tutorial internally. So it is kind of tricky. Dead by Daylight's a kind of a simple game on the surface with a lot of complexity in the actual like execution of playing the game. So it is a balancing act between making the tutorial too simple and not teaching people enough, and too complicated, overwhelming people with things they don't need to know when they get started. So I don't think we can say yet whether there'll be like an advanced tutorial, but we are currently talking about the tutorial, and it would be nice to see something like that.
All right. The next question, I will take the answer for that one, but Mooks is asking, is a community contest for an original killer power possible, like we do for cosmetic contest? So that's unfortunately very unlikely. Or killers start being conceptualized like over a year before the release. We probably would have to untrue suggestions that would fit a killer that we already had planned. And we release 4 killer powers a year, but a ton of outfits. So it's easier for us to kind of like link it to the outfits. And we don't want to commit to a killer power, because the way that we do prototyping and changes alongside the development is that killer powers from the beginning to the end that you see out in release change a lot. And we think that if we pick a fan created power to build, it's really unlikely that it would come out the same as the original design after going through the whole development cycle. Hello, doggy. And yeah, we don't think this would feel very good for the community member and the contributor. So That's the answer on that. Very unlikely. We
It
don't
could
like
be.
to say never, but very unlikely.
It could be kind of like when Mork and Mindy. Mork was from Orc, so it was M with Orc. And when they had a baby, they had a contest to name it, and they just waited for someone to send in Mirth from Earth. And they said, "You win." So we
That's
could do that.
cheating.
That's a
cheating.
pretty old reference. I have to point that out.
Yeah, it's a pretty old reference, I know.
All right. Wisdom Wielder is asking, many new perks are just better versions of old perks. Are you trying to revisit some of these? For example, Oppression versus Pop, Surge versus Overcharge, and Undying versus Thrill of the Hunt.
All right, so I have a prepared answer again because this is something that I might get lost in if I try to just wing it, so I'm not going to wing it. Sorry. The perks mentioned have different triggers and functions, so I don't really agree with the assertion that the new perks are just better versions of the old perks. Oppression makes several gens regress, while Pop adds loss of progression to a damage generator event. So Oppression is saving you the trouble of running around damaging several generators to start them regressing, while Pop is giving you an instant reduction in a single generator's progress where you are. Surge makes several gens in an area lose progress and start regressing, but Overcharge booby traps a single gen for when the survivor hits it. So those, again, are quite separate functions. Undying makes destroyed hex totems shift position, which kind of protects your totem, but Thrill of the Hunt makes it take longer to cleanse any totem. That includes dull totems. So even if you run just Thrill of the Hunt and nothing else, Thrill of the Hunt will protect Noed, for example, while Undying will protect them, but it's not protecting them for a function. It helps you keep them for the vision. So I think really what's going on is we're working at creating perks that are in different spaces. Even though they may seem on the surface to have similar functions, they occupy different niches in both trigger and what kind of function they give you, like Oppression saving travel time as opposed to Pop just giving you a chunk of lost progress. So I'm not sure I agree with that assessment.
All right. Filled Pizza is asking if Larry's the Saloon and Midwich will be graphically reworked, or are we happy with them?
Yeah, we are not currently planning to update them in the same push as the other maps. I think they're pretty neat.
Also, we're focusing mainly on like very old realms to make sure that we're bringing that to a more up-to-date standard, and that's the main priority for the graphical update at this very moment. Can of Air again, hello. With the release of the twins, will we see more unique killer powers in the future? For example, a killer using an AI.
Well, I mean, I can't say yes or no because we haven't announced what our next killers are yet,
Yeah.
but it's an interesting idea. And AI specifically is tricky because you want to make sure that there's still something for the killer to do. Because like if the AI is doing enough work, then you have less work to do. And the AI has to be strong enough to where the player isn't going to blame the AI when it fails, So that's a tricky one, but it's an interesting idea. And as you know, we like to try new things on occasion. Like the twins was totally new, having two things you can control and switch between them. So I think we will see more unique killer powers in the future, but I can't really comment on what those might be at the moment.
Yeah, I'm seeing I remember when we came out with Huntress, where people were like, it's impossible, it's absolutely impossible to do a range killer in this game. And then, hey, look, Huntress, and now we have a multiple range killer. So it's pretty interesting to see what the future comes. All right, Jotaro, any balance change for Freddy in the future?
Yes, indeed. So we do have an update in the works for Freddy. I cannot yet tell you what it is. However, as we've released the stats for more than a year now, Freddy has been pretty firmly on top, enough that it has, it really has gotten our attention. So there is something coming for Freddy. No details yet. Stay tuned.
All right. Wimut. I don't know if I said that right. Can Sofan expect new skins for the pig? So I don't know if I can say expect, since that suggests that there's definitely something coming up. But we did add new outfits for the pig in the past, so it's in the realm of possibilities. That's all I'm gonna answer to this. Just a little peek is asking, do you have anything planned for Demogorgon? So if you were
As
not there like 10 minutes ago.
yeah, we mentioned earlier that we are going to be visiting Demogorgon after we finish the con update. It's not going to be huge. Like I said before, we're happy with the dichotomy between his power being shred and portals. So it's going to be a fine-tuning pass through a lot of numbers in his kit, and we'll do an add-on pass to make sure that those are behaving the way we want. I expect a couple of his add-ons are going to change.
All right. And again, the chat is not disappointing with the demos. All right. Valor is asking, any news on the server side hit validation? So, just to be fair to us, this question was asked last week. We prepared these answers in advance to make sure that we can get the information in. But any case.
Yeah. So I mean, if you were following the saga so far, we turned it on and then turned it off. We had an issue mainly concerning the Oni's power. So that is going to be fixed in an upcoming hotfix or bug fix patch, and then we'll be bringing the hit validation back. So what happened between the first hit validation test and turning it on yesterday was mostly regarding feedback on the killer side when hit validation kicked in. It could be kind of confusing and misleading if, as a killer, if your hit got corrected by the server. It would look like you would hit them, they wouldn't take damage, so oftentimes you'd be looking on the ground for the person you downed, only to realize that they had just kept running. So we made some changes with the last update so that a missed hit makes it more clear that you missed.
All right. G Hondo is asking, can you do something about Badham map rates?
It turns
what
out.
Are you saying that somehow we ended up on Badham a lot lately? I didn't see that.
I gotta say, I was wondering the same thing. Like, what is going on? And someone says, Badham comes up a lot, and I thought,
I'm like, how is
right.
it that I got like 50% of my game on this map today?
We have a system that can have maps come up more often than others, and we tend to do this with new maps so that people get to play the new map. And the rate for Badham was accidentally increased. So if you felt like you were getting a lot of Badham games, it was none of your imagination that was happening. I believe it's been fixed, or it will ship with the next backend update. I don't know.
Just after the bloodlust test, it got
okay.
It got
so you shouldn't be getting Badham every time anymore, unless you're just lucky.
So or yeah, lucky or unlucky, whatever side you want to be on that one. But yeah, we all felt it. So you are not crazy. You are getting Badham a lot. Jotaro is asking, can we get cross progression between different platforms? So this is a question we did answer a bunch before when we released cross progression, but I think it's worth repeating. We would like to have cross progression between all platforms, but it's really something that we have to work on a per platform basis, and we're going to keep trying to make it happen. But it's not just our call to make, and we don't want to get your hopes up before anything is set in stone. So far, we can only confirm cross progression between Steam and Stadia, with Switch being on the way. So that's the only thing we can say for this. BM33. Will console ever be involved in more testing? Example, a PC?
Yeah, so unfortunately, this is unlikely. The PTB, we have a lot of leeway because we're hosting this on Steam. including consoles in the loop would really slow the process down and shorten the amount of time that we have to fix issues between PTB and live. These are crucial weeks, and that's why we use Steam. It's faster for turnaround. Consoles are still included in any live testing that we do, such as the Bloodlust experiment that we did a couple of weekends ago. And sometimes we can even test things exclusively on a certain platform or region, like the MMR system, for example. So to wrap that up, that's probably no on PTB, but yes on other kinds of live testing.
Yeah, there was also questions when we did the Bloodlust test about like why did we not do that on PTB only? Well, the answer is we wanted the feedback from everyone and the data from everyone, and not just Steam players.
Yeah. It might be worth to point out for people who aren't really sure why a PTB happens if an issue that is found in PTB is found in live. It is worth pointing out that it's better to have the fixes the 3 weeks earlier than not, at the very least. I mean, there's a lot more that goes into it than that, but that's where I like to start that particular discussion.
Sweet Terror, will there be an update that fixes the UI on Xbox Series X and PS5?
Sorry, I think we got a little bit out of sequence on what we were going to talk about.
Oh,
It's
maybe I skipped a question. Sorry.
It's all good. I'll answer that question. The answer is yes. There is a fix coming for the UI problem on Xbox Series X and PS5.
Okay, I skipped the mouse and keyboard. I am sorry. Zombie, that are mouse and keyboard compatibility coming to Xbox and PlayStation?
We do get asked this a lot, and it's not planned at the moment. It is more work than you might think, given the way the game works on consoles. So, I mean, I can't rule it out, but at the moment we don't have any plans to do that.
Partially from Twitter is asking, will all the graphic updates, the map making the game look much better? Is there any chance of us seeing colorblind settings added in the near future? So for 2021, we're reviewing a lot of settings option and evaluating additional setting features, but we aren't ready right now. We're not close enough to an actual plan to commit on any specific feature. But know that we're reevaluating setting options and setting features. And for this question, Talon and Goo, can we disable exhaustion perks for a weekend to see how necessary they are in their current form, much like the Bloodlust experiment? Oh, did I skip one again? No, I think that was you. Sorry.
Okay.
Wait for it.
No. Okay. So,
Ding dong.
with the exhaustion perks, we wouldn't have to disable exhaustion to test it, because we can quite easily go into our data and cull a whole bunch of games that don't have exhaustion perks in them and see what the difference is. And if you see a huge escape rate with exhaustion perks relative to non-exhaustion perks, then you know you have a balance problem. We haven't seen anything that looks like this at the moment, but if we did want to do a deeper analysis on it, we would not have to do a full experiment on it.
You're gonna pry head on from my cold dead hens. Also, I can guarantee you it doesn't help me to escape. I mostly get tunneled after it. Anyways, on that, Luminous is asking, y'all got more of those stats? So we actually do. Them's our stats. We actually have those stats. We see you.
Those sure are some stats.
We
Whoa.
see you.
Only 26%? I'm surprised it's that low.
It's also worth noting that like teabagging is also a way that survivors say thank you to each other, or, you know,
Yeah.
communicate with friends.
Yeah. Like,
Still.
come heal me. No, I'm going to work on this generator. No, heal me. No, I'm working on this generator. Heal me.
Still, shame on you if you're being toxic.
It's those mobile players who are bringing down the teabagging stats. We need a dedicated teabag button on mobile.
Interestingly, though, we have seen that the numbers of teabag per match decreases in red rank. So maybe people are actually too busy trying to escape with their life. So, yes, we had stats. You're welcome. All right. The King Twitch on Twitter is asking, is there any update on key and or Mori changes? And is there an ETA you're able to give us?
You are muted.
Yeah, you're muted.
I did the old thing. Sorry. The answer to the first question is yes. The answer to the second question is no.
So first question was update on key and or Mori. Yes. Second question was ETA. No. So thank you, Louis. All right. So Fleshtown is asking on Twitter, when will we see a LGBTQ plus character in Dead by Daylight? So we have addressed this in interviews lately. It's still coming. We're committed to this. For us, representation is very important. And when we do add a LGBTQ plus character in the game, we want to be careful that we are doing it right. We don't want to create characters that are tokens. We don't want to be just flashing that like that. For us, it should be fully fledged out character that are not defined solely by their sexuality or gender. So, also a note from our creative director, this will always take place in the past. There was no time for romance or sexuality in the entity's realm. So, all right. So that was our answer for this. All right. Sour Melon Soda on Twitter is asking, will we get Dwight in a maid dress? Why am I... Ethan, you're tagged for this one.
I'm
not
tagged for this
taking
one.
it.
We take the questions to get my stuff voted. So will we get Dwight in the maid dress? You know, I don't know. I couldn't commit one way or the other on that.
Maybe we will, maybe we won't.
If you had the choice, if the choice was only yours, Ethan.
No. If it were just
no,
up
I'm
to
not
me,
answering that.
I am not on the product team. So even if I said no and they wanted to do it, it would still happen.
Yep. Same for me. Same for McLean here. Okay, so multiple people were asking if there were plans to adjust the emblems because Killer's a bit harder to rank up at the moment.
Yeah, so in the long term, there is a plan to adjust emblems. It's worth mentioning that a switch over to MMR for matchmaking would probably necessitate changes to emblems in the long term. In the short term, it's worth mentioning that there was an issue identified with the Devout emblem, possibly specific to the twins. This came up a lot for players who were attempting to get the Adept Twins achievement. Know that it's not you. There is an issue that is sometimes causing that emblem to not report enough survivor hooked points, and we are on that one.
It's funny because on the opposite for me, I find it a little harder on Survivor to rank up than Killer, but that's just a personal.
Well, it's the same for me. I rank up bots faster on Killer, but it's going to be different for everybody depending on their play styles.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right. Genzo from Japan is asking, have you considered making AFK Crow appear above Survivor who don't work on Generator for X amount of time to prevent them from taking the game hostage?
This is a detailed game design question, and so I'm going to try to answer it in detail. In principle, it would be nice to prevent hostage games in any way possible, because that always sucks to get in a game where it's being held hostage. But how much time is it okay to not work on a generator? Is it 10 seconds? Is it a minute? Is it 2 minutes? I mean, I've been in a few games where I didn't touch a gen for, I don't know, 5 minutes, but I was still active. I was doing totems, I was rescuing people, I was healing people, and we weren't not doing generators just to hold the game hostage. It's that the killer was applying a lot of pressure, but was having trouble killing us. So this system could potentially be abused if we were to do this. Like if you tap a generator, does that reset the timer? So you could just tap a generator every 5 minutes and then not be considered holding it hostage. Let's say that doesn't work. So you've picked up some crows because you haven't been repairing for 5 minutes. How long do you have to repair to get rid of those crows? Is it 30 seconds? Is it 10 seconds? Does this present killers with a new way to find survivors? Keep them off the gens until they get their no repair crows, and now you can find them because of the crows? It's not that it's necessarily an incorrect feature. It's that it's not as simple as if you don't repair for this much time, you get crows. It's a way deeper and more complicated question than that. And so if we were to implement such a feature, all of these design questions would have to be asked. And so the short answer is no, we wouldn't do that, but not because we don't want games held hostage, but because approaching hostage holding from that angle leads to more questions than it solves, and then it probably wouldn't be a good feature. So if we wanted to reduce hostage holding, we would probably approach it from a different direction.
Casey is asking, what was the most challenging part in the design of the twins' power?
So I did not work on the twins myself, but our designer did leave me a nice message here to pass along, which is that the twins have a very unique power which allows them to be in 2 places at once, which creates a lot of problems that other killers don't have. For example, a killer isn't wide enough to block the basement stairs, but the twins could stand next to each other to block the way. Or to give another example, normally a killer cannot completely block the unhook prompt because you can unhook from any angle, but the twins can split up and block the entire prompt. From the beginning, a lot of work went into making sure that the power couldn't be abused in situations like that.
All right, we're pretty much at the end of our list of questions. I'm going to go back to our news and announcement from earlier. So I think it's worth repeating the message that we had early in the stream, but Chapter 18 has been out since December 1st this week. We got the twin and Elodie added to the game, and let's readdress the elephant in the room, please. Louis.
Sure. Yeah, so like we mentioned at the beginning of the stream, there were probably a higher than normal number of issues with the content in the last patch. The fixes are coming. We have follow-up patches planned for this. I noticed a lot of people in the chat were mentioning bugs which were not in our original known issues list in the patch notes, such as the issues with the Legion's power and Leatherbase's power. We're aware of these, and we are working on this stuff. I'm going to get those patches out to you as soon as possible.
Yeah, so we're doing our best to get that up to speed. And again, for thanking you for sticking up with us while we're fixing this issue, you can log in game, and you will have an extra number of blood points on top of the normal advent calendar stuff. And that's pretty much it. I think that we have covered the hit validation going on and off again this week. It will be turned back on next week when a fix is pushed to the live game. And finally, advent calendar, just remember to log in every day during the month of December and even a little bit after for surprises, charm, sweater, currency, more. Awesome. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Ethan and McLean, for answering questions. Thank you to chat for spamming that demo. I saw it.
That was great.
That was great. Thank you for all the good questions. And we are rating Spooky Loops. Oh, we are not. We're not. I just heard we're not. Are we rating anyone? Okay, so we're not rating anyone. All right, well, sad face. Thank you again for joining us, and we will end on this then.